Decorating Pages is a podcast dedicated to taking you behind the scenes of the designs of your favorite TV shows and films. Each episode, I'll be sharing design stories from some of Hollywood's most famous sets. Interviews from set decorators, production designers, directors, and actors about creating the look of TV and film, about their design inspirations, and stories that take sets from page to screen. Hello, and welcome to Decorating Pages. I am your host, Kim Monup. Hello, what's up? How you doing? Where you at? Where you been? Happy holidays. It's mid-December. How crazy is this? Time's flying. 2023, although I had a lot of time off, like a lot of us, it flew. It still flew by. It's crazy. I want to first off say thank you to everyone who listened to last week's podcasts. Boy, everyone must have really liked Fargo and the buyers of For All Mankind. A huge response from last week's episode. So thank you so much to anyone who spread the word about the podcast. And thank you to everybody listening. Welcome and join in. Temperature's just fine. If you are new here, just to let you know, you can always email me at kimwanup@decoratingpagespodcast.com if you have any questions, any topics you would feel like you'd like covered. It's mostly trying to tell people what we actually do behind the scenes of set decorating and production design, art department, props. I've had a lot of different below the line positions here. And above, a couple showrunners. So yeah, but mainly, we're just talking about our work and our craft and how much we love our jobs and how hard it is. So yeah, so welcome. And this episode, if you're again listening, good one. Arthur Max, production designer and set decorator, Elli Griff. For Napoleon, phenomenal movie. I don't know if you've seen it. The design is fantastic. So that'll be in just a little bit. Let's talk about what I'm watching, what Wanup's watching. So I'm deep into these screeners for award season, and I finally got to see Killers of the Flower Moon. Now I read this book. It's a great book. It's rough. It's not an easy subject, but I knew that they were going to make a film about it, so it drew me to it. It was Scorsese and then DiCaprio, and I'm in. Production designer Jack Fisk and set decorator Adam Willis, who also decorated some of Oppenheimer. Where'd you come from, man? You got potentially 2 nominations this year, maybe, for production design, or at least going to be on a lot of awards. I don't know I don't know Adam, but I don't know where'd you come from. I like it. Great work. See that? Anyone? I'm dying to do this kind of work. I'm dying to do it. I just wish I could get there too. I think when you're in this business, there are certain projects that you're drawn to and that you want to work on, and you strive for that, and that sort of perfection or everything drives you to your next project. So I think bravo because I know that I've done work with Native Americans and how absolutely precious specifics are to them and in the film and getting everything right. And I know just from a set decorator point of view, the respect level is so prominent, and you want to just get everything right. I previously talked to the production designer of Reservation Dogs and War Pony, and I decorated second season of Rutherford Falls. So, it's a lot. I know that. I think the film itself was good, and I was a trooper. I didn't even get up to the bathroom for the 3 and whatever hours. But I probably won't watch it again. Let's be honest. It's not Wolf of Wall Street. It's not Goodfellas. It's a good movie, but I don't think I'll watch that again. It's also a hard subject to watch. I mean, you're watching people plan to kill other people through the whole movie, and it's hard. Um, but good movie. I'm sure it'll be nominated for many awards. We'll talk in a minute about Golden Globes. The other movie I caught this week was Anatomy of a Fall. Production designer Emmanuel Duplay and set decorator Cicely Deleu. And they're French, I believe. Now, this movie is good, but again, too long. It's too long. The decor is really all about this house and this whether the the a man dies, either he was pushed or he jumped off a roof of his own house. You don't know. And so the house is such a character that they had to, I'm assuming either design or find as a location and then decorate for this family. And then there's a lot of the French trial, which I thought was very interesting how they run a trial in France. So I liked it. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of fell asleep for about 30, 45 minutes in the middle. Sorry. But when I woke up, not much had happened, and I caught the ending, and I know how it ends. So it was good. It was good that way. Um, I also watched Wonka again, which because next week's episode is production designer Nathan Crawley. So I've seen Wonka twice. It's good. Is it an iconic film? Well, I don't know. We'll see. But it's good. And I'm usually kind of uncomfortable. Oh, I'm kind of uncomfortable in musicals, but it's not too there's not like music every single minute. So, that was good. So yeah, that's what Juana's been watching this week. I have talked quite a bit about the book that I'm reading because I listened to it on audiobooks and it's 28 hours long. So I have like 4 hours left. It's called Oral History of Hollywood by Janine Basinger and Sam Wasson. And I'm on these chapters where it's like quotes New Hollywood, which I believe the interviews this was taken from is the 70s. And they started to go back and talk to production designers because I had mentioned that they go through almost every position on the crawl. And I'm waiting and waiting for them to get to like production designers and set decorators. And that little blurb was like over in like 3 minutes of 28 hours that I've been listening to. So I'm at a point where they've gone back and now they're talking more to production designers. And what's interesting is, in the 70s, they really talk about this new Hollywood and independent films like Easy Rider and Midnight Cowboy and all of these films that were independent and then became these huge hits. And how the breakdown of the studio system that they had back in the day, back in the original Hollywood, of someone, like a production designer, heading up an art department and working on basically every film that came through that studio, like MGM or Universal or anything. So there are production designers who have over, 500 credits. And if you listen to the production design film study series that I have going on, we talk quite a bit about that also and the designers' work and how the same designers kept doing the same things, but really they were kind of overseeing things. But then, what they start to talk about is that they missed the Hollywood system because it actually kept costs down, which I thought, well, maybe that's because they weren't paying enough, but there were unions by them. So, but it dawned on me that they didn't have to negotiate every time they worked on it. Like that guy worked on 500 films. He didn't negotiate 500 shows. He worked for MGM and that was his rate. And he, worked on some of the, best movies of all time. So it hit me like that because the negotiating every single time you get a job is such bullshit. It's just so like in a sense demeaning because you have to like prove your worth every time just to get like a $50, kit rental or something. It's like it's crazy. So that's always a pain, but you do it and you move on. Hopefully you're not bitter. Um, but it also, I just thought, if you're being paid enough, and probably they were for the time, that's amazing. It's just an amazing thing. And it worked out for actors sometimes too, because some actors were in, hundreds, 100 films or whatever under their contracts, and some were lent out to other studios. I don't know if they even had any say in it. So, yeah, but I just thought that was interesting, and that's what I'm listening to right now. But yeah. So, what else? Well, should we get to this episode? I don't think I have. Oh, let's quickly just go over the Golden Globes. Just the project. So, best motion picture: Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Past Lives, The Zone of Interest, Anatomy of a Fall. Best picture: musical or comedy: Barbie, Poor Things, American Fiction, The Holdovers, May December, Air. Totally weird to me that Wonka didn't get nominated there. Weird. Best television series drama: 1923, The Crown, The Diplomat. I don't know about that. The Last of Us, The Morning Show, Secession. And then the best television show, musical or comedy: The Bear, Ted Lasso, Abbott Elementary, Jury Duty, Only Murders in the Building, Barry. And then limited series. Why is The Beef limited series? That has seasons. That's weird to me. Anyway, Beef, Lessons in Chemistry, Daisy Jones and the Six, All the Light We Cannot See, Fellow Travelers, and Fargo. So, you want me to pick my winners right now? I can do it. Best Motion Picture, I might go to Maestro. Best Musical or Comedy, Barbie. Best Television Series should be Secession, but they might give it to The Crown. Best television series, musical or comedy. Oh, The Bear. I got The Bear and The Beef mixed up. Sorry. The Bear, I think will probably win. Either that or Only Murders in the Building. And then limited series, that's the one Beef is in. Sorry. I think Fargo should win, and Daisy Jones is fantastic too, but they'll probably give it to Beef. Or, I don't know, that's a tough one. Because they have a lot of different storylines going on there that could favor different votes, I should say. But that's plenty of other categories we're not going to get into, because Golden Globes doesn't do production design. So forget them. But of course, I'll be watching. So here we go. On this week's episode, I speak with one of the most influential production design teams, production designer Arthur Max, and set decorator Elli Griff. I was absolutely thrilled to speak to them and kind of dorked out. And I spoke to them about their project Napoleon, directed by Ridley Scott. So to create this epic scale of a movie, production designer Arthur Max, a 3-time Oscar nominee for Gladiator, American Gangster, and The Martian, has collaborated with Ridley Scott on 15 films since 1997, starting with G.I. Jane, has seen this business of production design change immensely over the years. Quote, "We have always built giant sets, but now we use spaces in different ways," he explains. "When we made Gladiator, CGI was in its nuance. We were limited as to what we could achieve. Now the scope of our ambitions has grown with it, but we're still in the school of thought that it's best to have a physical set to build off of, not just a complete CGI universe." And I have to agree immensely. Set decorator Elli Griff joined Max on Gladiator in Morocco, followed by Black Hawk Down and Man on Fire, directed by the late Tony Scott. More recently, she worked on The Glass Onion, which brought her an ADG award, and they are both currently finishing up Gladiator 2. How cool is that? So on the podcast, we explore this intricate process they had for Napoleon and research, and we talk about color palette of the time, how the decor of these elaborate tents, a lot of battle scenes, a lot of tents, and then she brought up beds. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. podcast, Decorating Pages podcast. Hello to both of you. How are you?
Yes, very good, thank you.
Are you tired yet? Have you just been like doing a million of these?
Well, there's been quite a few. Yes.
Oh, I'm your first? Oh, pressure. I would like to start by saying that I'm a set decorator for almost 20 years. Your work has absolutely inspired me, so this is such a gem just to get to talk to both of you. So I'm so glad to have this opportunity because absolutely your work has inspired me over the years. So thank you first and foremost for that. I really am just blown away to get to talk to you and to see this film, which is another epic film that you took on, which is unbelievable. I mean, you must have had over 200 sets. Yeah. You must have had at least over 200 sets, right? Do you know?
Who's counting?
Yeah,
there were a lot.
I guess when you get that many, you just stop counting and you just go as the schedule goes and you just do it. I'm wondering though, in a project like this and taking over someone's life story, and the research is, I'm sure, so intricate. Was there any specific piece of research that you found or did that led you down your color tone path or down your character detail decor path?
Oh, golly. Well, I mean, it's a collaboration across departments. So, as you know, one has to bear that in mind, that it's, you might have a strong urge to lead like that, but actually you do have to collaborate with everybody else. Costumes, obviously, Arthur and I, it's a massive element of trust, but, we clearly go through things beforehand and we just have to make sure that we're the same temperature as everybody else.
Right. Was in historically going through this and picking locations, was it harder to find? I mean, you shot in England, correct? Was that it? Yes.
Yeah, shall I take this one, Elli?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of the architect on the film, and that was one of the bigger challenges of not shooting, one of the greatest characters in French history in France. We love the French and we love France, but for various reasons, we decided to do it in England and in Malta. Malta, especially for the naval side of things, the nautical scenes, and representing Toulon in France, and also the islands of Elba and St. Helena. But in terms of architectural style and research, I had somebody in Paris in the Bibliothèque Nationale working for quite a long time, pulling research out. So we were very well informed by French researchers about the history and the design side of things. And surprisingly, and I was pleasantly surprised to find so much that was suitable in England that would double up for French, both the exteriors and interiors and landscapes. And there were a couple of locations that we found a bit further afield outside of the general central London area that couldn't be more French, where particularly the Bowson Hall in Northumberlandshire, which was designed for an English diplomat who had lived and worked in France on behalf of the English crown, fell in love with French style, and came back and built a completely authentic French chateau, which was completely unrenovated as well. It was maintained in its original condition with beautiful grounds and first forest kind of primary oak trees. I mean, just gorgeous, and it was just fell in our laps.
It was at Josephine's. Was that Josephine's house?
Well, it's at the point in the story where they're married, and he has become a general after his success in Toulon. He's promoted by the Revolutionary Committee to the rank of general, and he's married by now, and that's their home. It's called, in the film, Chateau Bonaparte.
Oh, it's beautiful.
There was a Chateau Bonaparte, but it doesn't exist anymore.
Mm.
So we felt we had a little license there.
Well, yeah.
But back to the question you asked Ellie about palette. I mean, we tried to stay true to the colors of the era and how they're made and what kind of dyes they used, and you know, to be faithful to the period, not to use commercial fabrics that are out of period.
Mm-hmm.
And the spectrum of the you know, the two sides also. We had so many different countries to represent, and they're all color-coded in uniforms and banners and flags. You know, it's like football match.
Right.
You have to identify the teams, or else you won't be able to follow the action. So there's all of that to talk about in terms of, you know, and in coordination with costume as well,
Right,
the
yeah.
interiors and the props, etc. So there's a whole side of, you know, domestic and military color schemes as well. I found it really interesting to kind of keep track of it all.
Oh yeah. It's funny you reference football, because it does seem like that. Like you really just vote like cheering for uniforms at a certain point. You're not.
Yeah, exactly.
You just want your side to win. Those battle scenes are so incredible. The ice one is unbelievable. And also with the decor of the tents that they had and what they would set up, and just setting all of those things up on locations. How in decorating, how was that?
Well, I'll turn to Elli. She's the queen of tent.
The tent queen?
Yes, I mean, I love a tent, that's for sure. And, I think we had about between 5 and 7 little tenty bits to do, which got bigger and bigger. I mean, it's a joy, really. I mean, the French obviously a lot more ornate, and you know, imposing, and you know, Wellington's tent, very simple, brutal, you know, efficient, you know, weather cover, really, is what it was. And but
it was raining cats and dogs when we shot Wellington.
It was pouring, and you know, howling gales. I mean, I'm surprised they kept standing, to be honest, because the weather was what you see on the film. I mean, it was black and thunderous, and the wind was relentless. So yeah, it was a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I would have been like, I'm out.
All that, we love the elements. I mean, that's what Ridley lives for. He doesn't mind at all. You know, we cope with that, all that. But back to the research side of things. I remember now that we're talking about imperial and royal tents. That there was a lot on Napoleon, visual and reconstructed Napoleon tents in museums and that sort of. Research, but very little. I remember very little on the Austrian king tent. There was one image, I think, an engraving, and I couldn't find anything on Wellington. Could you? I don't.
Do you like that though? Do you like that? That like, okay, I can't really find anything. Now I have a freedom to design something. You know? Do you like that?
Yeah, I like constraints. I favor knowing what the parameters of the box is, but I don't mind when there's no information, because I'm quite happy to make it up as well. Yeah, I don't know. Elli likes to take the research, I think, and just, you know, go and take it where she wants to.
Until someone tells me to stop.
Well, that's the way to go. Keep going.
That was me. Whoa.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, it's fascinating. For me, you know, research, history, it's it's so important to me and what we do, and I thoroughly enjoy it, and I obviously want to put as much reality into the interiors and exteriors as possible. But there does come a point where you do have to rein it in a bit, because otherwise it just starts to look a mess on camera.
Right.
And so you have to filter stuff out. Sometimes I feel that I'm going a bit too far. I let it go far, and then we pare it back, to see, make it more architectural, really.
Did you?
I think the fun fact of tents on this,
Yes.
my favorite tent situation was the Tsar of Russia's tent, remember, in Bourne-Wood, which I think we ran out of time and tent rental potential or tent making potential. We ended up with a garden party off-the-shelf tent, which, I think turned out to be our best one in certain ways.
Yeah, we had to hastily put a lining together and a few reflective pieces that would grin out in the darkness. And but again, it was dressed to Ridley's storyboard. The shape of his main establishing shot out the mouth of the tent, wasn't it? It was
right.
It was nice to be guided like that.
With Ridley, you know what the key angles are and what you're trying to achieve and how he's going to set his cameras.
Because he storyboards he does his own storyboards, I read. Is that correct? Or you do it with him?
He's been doing them for like forever.
Right.
And he's really good at it. He's an artist. He's a draftsman. He paints in his spare time. He paints very good at oil paintings. Mostly of his home and his family and his dogs.
Ellie, maybe give him a rental here and there. Maybe.
Yeah.
When you're talking about the tents, and I know, the lighting and the candlelight and everything that you have to integrate there, can you talk a little bit about, because I know now we are basically lighting the sets a lot, and especially with candlelight, you're helping so much to light the actors. Like, how was that process with the DP and working through that?
Well, obviously we have multiple different candle setups. Some locations dictate that you can't have live candles at all.
Right.
So we had like little LED tips.
Oh, yeah.
So we could give the whole apparatus plus the candles to the sparks, and then they would rig the whole thing, and then we'd dress it in. And I believe that the tips then, I'm talking to Charlie Visual Effects, they tip the tips with a proper flame if they were, close in vision. I mean, for background, I think you could get away with it. But and then other locations would let us use real candles. So it is a little bit of Russian roulette, really, and we just had to cater for everything.
Wow.
So yeah. But it's interesting. I've never done LED tips before. That was a new thing for me.
The relatively new technology, they've gotten better, smaller, and more powerful. And also, a lot of the lighting is inspired by paintings of the period. And we try to recreate those. And we take a little bit of license also in that, we look at paintings like George de la Tour and Caravaggio, who were a bit earlier because of their use of light, but it just evokes, a period feel. And sometimes we invent kind of light fixtures that may or may not have existed.
To bounce light back in. I always find that of like, oh, that's such an interesting light. I wonder if they made that to bounce light back in instead of letting it all go, having fixtures that come back in to the actors or to the set.
They did use reflectors and candle shades to keep the heat off the ceiling and setting fire to the room. And but we worked very closely with our DP, Darius Wolski, and sometimes we were making period looking, but battery operated LED lanterns to carry around without having to get involved with cables and things up people's sleeves and down their legs.
Right.
And so, we ran the gamut of all sorts of fixtures and lighting. But real candlelight, and we got into how many wicks were in a candle.
Triple wick?
Triple. Darius, I think, preferred double, frankly, as I remember. Right, Elli?
Yeah, triple, too smoky for him, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the nature of the wax and the color of the wax and the shape of and the size and on and on. It's all good fun.
Well, yeah. I always think when I watch films, like I was thinking with the scene with the horses going through the ice and that whole battle scene, like that must have been a lot of meetings. That must have been a lot of meetings.
We love a meeting. We had so many. We had a war room. It was called the War Room on Ridley's office floor, which was a whole open plan area with a gigantic table and a big screen monitor for Zoom people to arrive in the meeting who couldn't attend. And we had lots of those, almost daily sometimes. We had giant models in that room of all the sets and battles, with all the little figures, to scale, and lots of trees and shrubs everywhere, and the topography, accurately. And, but I'm talking about big models, the size of 2 tennis tables, some of them.
Oh, wow.
So everybody stood around and you could, Ridley would describe how he was going to shoot and what the action was. And there was a lot of pre-planning.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
How much prep did you have?
The film was a battle, wasn't it, Elli?
Yes.
Making that film was a daily battle for us.
It was.
I'm sure.
I think it's quite good because obviously Arthur and I have a shorthand going back years, but what we haven't mentioned here is the multiple cameras. When they're shooting, it's not just one camera with the unit. These other satellite, really splinter units, but multiples over 10, at any time can pop up. And, that can be quite unnerving. So, you have to do the most intensive dress, I think, and organisation and walkthrough together to make sure that really from every angle you've got most things covered. Because, of course, you can't cover personally 14 cameras.
Right. Where does anybody hide? Where's Video Village? Where's it's you're shooting the world.
Usually in the tent part of the set.
Right.
In the tent dressed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, it's all good fun. I mean, we love a challenge, and a lot of the battles, you had to design for what was not there as much as for what was there, because we didn't have 25,000 Brits and 30,000 French and 40,000 Russians.
Right.
We had, what did we have, Elli, on average? Was it 500 a day, 600 a day extras?
500 maximum on any day, but obviously they didn't, they didn't spend their budget that way. It was most days it was like 250, I think, split in half.
Yeah, on each side. So you had to kind of design for what wasn't there.
Right.
And allow room, because it was being framed for immense amounts of visual effects additions.
Yeah.
And that a lot of previs was involved in that, so that you had a good idea of, where you were going with it. And elements were allowed for. We were planning for full-scale camps, but they were imaginary.
Right.
And it really affected the choice of locations to have enough scale for the additions. And we did a lot of plodding around in Wellingtons on this film, ironically.
Also, the little camp tents, interestingly enough, they had to be portable so that we didn't hold the unit up if we had to move half a dozen of them to give visual effects continuation line, go down. So, whilst they were shooting one way, our teams would be lifting all these tents on their backs and putting them, to give you a continuation line for the next shot that visual effects was going to top up and go on to the horizon maybe. So what's lovely about that, I think, is that you are working across departments and totally immersed in what other people need and do. That's the beauty of set tech, I think, is that you dip into every single other department. You're not insular at all.
No. Props. I mean, we just fall over with props all the time, wardrobe, and no, it's all inclusive of getting the look of everything. I mean, I would pray to be on something this huge, but I can imagine the intricacy in meetings and details and everything throughout all of the departments to get all this right, because it's such an epic story. It's a lifetime. It's unbelievable.
Firstly, it's slightly different with props in our hybrid kind of system in the UK. Is that props used to be in the hands of the set decorator. Right. So very grateful I am that they've branched out, in a way where they're self-sufficient, but I still like to be involved. So it's not, it's not the same as an American prop master who is on the floor and responsible for all the action props, and actually you don't have to get involved at all. There's still some of us that are a bit old-fashioned that like to, help out and, make sure that there's a cohesive look.
Right. Because all that armory, all of that and everything, you also have technical advisors that help with all of that too. But the production of all that, I mean, it's a massive undertaking also.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you've got horse dressing. That's set decorate. You've got, all the extra detailed dressing for weapons, chains, rope, lanyards, all those clanking, textural details that you need to put onto stuff. Vehicles, they still got to be dressed, and yes, but it's great because I am Napoleon,
right?
We're doing
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, how else can you do it? I mean, we all do it differently, but how else do you do it except be one of those people?
Did both of you have a favorite set?
I want Elli to talk about beds.
Beds? Oh, the bed. I read a little something about the bed, the historical bed.
Beds. Well, my favorite thing was Napoleon's bed. It was one of the first things that I did, and so I went for fabrics that were really, really, original silk, very, very reflective. And when he said to her, come to the bed of our masters, I think that's the line, and she runs in, and it's very simple. It's in the firelight, but we had a convex mirror in there with the imperial eagle, and it was just a delight to do. Again, really simple shapes, but the fabrics were so reflective. It was just a pleasure. It was an absolute pleasure to do. And then we had multiple beds. In the end, I did buy some online, and we cut and shot them. Some we made. There was a lot of improvisation, lots and lots of bed drapes.
These with coronets,
right?
And golden swans.
We had to make coronets. We made golden gilded swans for her bed at Beauharnais, I think it was, and then there was her deathbed, which was also done in reflective silks, where she's I think you see it in the background of her with the throat infection and the diphtheria.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah. We had a bed factory in section prop making workshop, and they were always rushed for some reason, and they were always very complicated to install, and they were always kind of a joy to finish at the very last minute. I seem to remember. And they were magnificent. And I really, congratulate Elli for, the variety. I mean, from the very simplest of camp beds for the average soldier all the way up to,
Right.
Josephine's imperial bed in Fontainebleau. I mean, they were pretty orgasmic creations.
Thank you. And Napoleon's little bed in his tent was a direct replica, actually, of his campaign bed. And
which he designed, didn't he?
Yes. Yeah.
He was, and campaign furniture in general. There was a lot of authenticity, and at the same time, there was a lot of invention. And it was really fun. That's why I brought up the subject of beds. For me, it was, it was always a bit of a surprise when I walked into a room to see what we were dealing with that particular day. But it was a great period to do for that reason, because you had the very practical military side of campaign, and then the just lavish opulence of the palaces and the chateaux.
And the ships. All those ships too, like all of.
You say ships, but we only had one.
You only had the one? I keep thinking of that scene with the checkered floor. I love that room. It's simple and beautiful as it was. I love that.
Oh, shall we confess, Elli?
Yes, I think yeah.
I mean, that is the real HMS Victory down in Portsmouth.
Beautiful. I was wondering because color-wise, it was brighter, and I thought, wow, this is something a little different in the room than, and plus he's just sitting there. It's only
very authentic Georgian green, isn't it? So
it was beautiful.
It's a museum, and they've restored it accurately.
Oh wow!
So we don't really count that. We just walked in and I think we sort of emptied the room, didn't we?
You got a light day on this 50 days. You got a light day? That sounds awesome.
Well, I mean, you win and you lose in this business sometimes.
Yeah. Yes.
But we only had one ship that became both the French fleet and the British fleet. It was repainted, redressed, re-rigged.
Oh, then you didn't get a day off.
They shot, from every angle, every, direction. So all credit to visual effects, because we only had the one ship, really.
I was fooled. Oh, I thought you had a fleet.
So I thought I'd mention that.
I have to wrap it up. I just want to say thank you again so much, and thank you for the inspiration over the years. I can't wait to see your next project, because that's going to be awesome too, I'm sure. Good luck with that. I don't know if you're in it or you're done it, or I don't know, but you guys like to pick up a 200 set list, huh? I'm sure.
Oh, we love it. And like Arthur said, it's the challenge and the high speed. It's great.
Yeah.
Very.
Get used to it.
Yeah.
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 Yes.
And you work together. I mean, like you said, like the shorthand and working together, it's always makes things a little easier when you know who you're talking to, and you can talk together about things instead of something new.
Yeah, well, it makes it faster.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Awesome.
I think it shows up on the screen,
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
It's a real collaboration.
Yeah.
And,
well,
there you are.
Yes, thank you so much, and good luck with all your interviews today. Hope they're not too exhausting.
Well, thank you. You've been very, very easy to communicate with.
Oh, good. I'm glad. And again, a total pleasure. So thank you so much, and I hope to see you again sometime. I hope to see you in award season, I'm sure.
Thank you.
That would be lovely.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So I didn't dork out that much, right? I was cool, right? I feel like my voice was much louder. I had to do the interview at work and used someone else's office and sat down and I'm at the corner of like Sunset and Gower, and all those sirens are going off. So sorry about that, but that's Hollywood. That's Hollywood. Gosh, I forget that in different countries how decorators are responsible for such different things. And dressing horses and weaponry and everything is such another huge job. I don't even know how you layer that on to an already huge, massive project like this as a set decorator. So especially to that, bravo, Elli. I mean, fantastic job. I'm waiting for Napoleon to come up on screeners again, because I would watch Napoleon again. And I think probably many times throughout my life I could throw that on. I think it's very weird that Joaquin Phoenix doesn't have an accent, and he's Napoleon, and he's not even French or anything. And then all the other people have English accents, and they're French. But, I mean, I get it. I mean, it works. It's a beautiful movie, and I don't know. I really liked it. I think it's gonna do well. I don't know, but we'll see. I'm a voter in some things. I don't know. I liked it. Anywho, so next week's podcast is production designer Nathan Crawley for the whimsical film Wonka, which I said in the beginning I saw twice. I really liked it. I think the design is fantastic. I love that it's not a remake of the story, and it's an origin story, and I don't know. I liked it. So again, I'm a voter, whatever. And then tomorrow, another production design film study, 1980, with art director, production designer Raph Leiden. And we talk about the films Tess, which was the winner. We talk about Empire Strikes Back, The Elephant Man, Coal Miner's Daughter, and Camarasa. I can't even pronounce it. It was a Japanese film, and I can't pronounce it, and I have a lot of opinions about it. So, it is on YouTube already, if you want to check that out, and the podcast comes out tomorrow. So another week for a twofer. I'm really giving up some Christmas prezzies here. I hope you got an earful. I'm Kim Wanup for Decorating Pages.
Welcome to Pro Tips for the Pros, brought to you by Floor & Decor Bailey's Crossroads. In this series, we'll explore essential advice for professional contractors to deliver outstanding renovation results. Let's dive in. Keep the work area clean and organized throughout the renovation process to create a positive impression and minimize stress for the customer. Regularly clean up debris and dust to maintain a safe and comfortable living environment. Thank you for joining us for this pro tip on planning thorough renovations. Stay tuned for more expert advice brought to you by Floor & Decor Bailey's Crossroads.
A lot of people tolerate ordinary. Ordinary bathrooms, kitchens, entryways. Well, not on your watch. If you're a pro, you've got a new partner in town. Floor & Decor. From tile to wood to stone, Floor & Decor has more styles and job lot quantities of Schluter, Mapei, Laticrete, and other brands pros trust. Come see a whole new way to wow with Floor & Decor. Coming soon to Bailey's Crossroads.